I was on a date where it was so bad I didn't want to have dessert.
Mm-hmm.
And then the guy was like, no, come on, order dessert. He's like, I like women who are bigger than I am. Like, go ahead and eat the dessert. And I just, yeah.
Welcome to another episode of Why Won't You Date Me, a podcast where me, Nicole Byer, was trying to figure out why I was so single, even though you could take me on a hot air balloon and leave me in the sky. It's our 400th episode. Can you believe it? I've been talking for 7.5 years. It's too long. And for a milestone like this, I wanted a guest who embodies resilience, reflection, and the power of reclaiming your own story. She's lived through kind of a media firestorm that it was bad, and I wouldn't want it. And she's come out on the other side as a writer, a speaker, an advocate for change. And she's the host of a new podcast called Reclaiming on Wondery. It's Monica Lewinsky.
I want to wake up to that introduction every morning. I think I would have a very, that's the way to start the day.
Right? Isn't it
Thank
fun
you.
when someone just yells nice things about you?
Yes, and congratulations on
Thank
400.
You. Thank you.
That is pretty, it's actually daunting to imagine, but exciting for you.
Listen, I get tired, but I just keep talking. Monica, what would you like to reclaim? I know you do this on your podcast.
I know. Well, having just interviewed Cindy Crawford the other day, and she was talking about her morning routine. I would like to reclaim my mornings. I sort of left thinking about, wow, she does it right. She does it right.
Wait, what does she do? I know people can listen to that episode, but
I'll give you the cliff notes, which is she takes the time in the morning for herself. Even though she listens to a Bible podcast on her phone, she doesn't check her text or her email. She knows, if the kids, it's an emergency, there's whatever that'll happen. And then she dry brushes, uses oil, goes in a jacuzzi, I think has her coffee.
That is a morning.
Meditates, I think, or meditates with the app. But she's super diligent about it. And she was talking about how it sets her up for a day, she started the day super present, super grounded, and kind of in herself. And I was really jealous. I'm on mornings like that.
Jealous. I woke up today at 9 a.m. because I was going to do personal training at 10. And I texted him and he was like, I'm stuck on a train because I kept canceling. So I think he was not worried about me showing up. And I was like, I'll be there. And he was like, I won't. And I was like, oh, no. And then I just laid in bed for an hour and a half until I was like, well, now you have to get ready. And if you don't get ready, you're going to be late. And I was on time today. Yeah. I'm never on time.
Well, for the 400th episode.
There's so many important things that I've been late to. I'll probably be late to my own wedding. I'm late to everything. It's so bad.
Not your funeral, right?
I'll probably be late for that too. They'll be like, we don't know where that casket is.
Decades and decades and decades on. But
listen, I don't want to be here.
You know what? I'm the same. I don't want to, I get really anxious seeing people who look really vulnerable out in the world. And I'm like, nah, I'm good.
No.
I'm good. The minute the minute you're worrying too much about walking down the street, carrying your groceries, that you're a target for someone to come after you.
Yeah, I don't want it. My grandpa's 96 now. All his friends are dead. He doesn't have friends. He'll be like, the lady at the church who used to go with me to the store, she died. Yeah. And I'm like, well, who do you go to the store with now? He's like, I gotta find a new friend. And that's exhausting. Finding friendship is so hard.
Yeah.
And then you're 96 and it's like, I guess we'll be friends for a couple months before you go. That's kind of depressing.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess unless you start to, unless you just begin to embrace I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, you can embrace it by being like, all right, I guess all these funerals are social events.
I don't know. Maybe. Or just sort of, I'll feel like I'll start to have a bucket list of, what do I need to do to make sure I don't come back with the same karma?
That's good to think about. That's very good to think about.
I think we could write a rom-com on that, maybe.
We could. Everything you do to try to reverse your karma.
Yeah.
Wait, Monica, that's a good idea. So you're going to reclaim your morning routine. I think I should too.
Okay. I know. In fact, it's funny. I was thinking this morning, Cindy has all these, she's a very successful entrepreneur too. And I was thinking, I was like, I would pay money to sort of, you know how they say it takes 21 days to
form a new habit?
I was like, I would pay money to sort of go on a Zoom with Cindy Crawford every day for 21 days and get her to make me do her routine.
Yeah,
I would do that too. Right? So maybe
guys, I can't come. I have my Zoom with Cindy Crawford.
Exactly.
I would just love to say that to somebody.
Yeah, she's just really amazing. So,
wait, Monica, are you single right now? Are you dating? Are you married? Or do you not want to say?
I am dating. So I'm not in a relationship, but I'm dating. So I was on a really nice date last night.
Oh, that's nice. I like that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why you're glowing. Someone was nice to you. Have you ever been on the dating apps, or is that just like a no-go?
Okay. So I've not been on the dating apps. That I did make a profile. Like I started to make a profile on one, and then I chickened out, and I also couldn't figure out how to do it. But what I did have was a really horrific experience. Sorry, eHarmony, but this was in.
I hate eHarmony.
It was like 2007 or 8 or something, and so I took the 40-minute fucking long test, and then you finally finish, and then you're waiting for them to show you their matches. And it said, "We're sorry, at this time we have no matches for you."
I was part of the 5% of undatable people.
Yeah.
Or like they were like, "We can't accept you," but also I answered the questions weird.
Well, okay, but then I learned from somebody, I didn't realize that it was all religious based.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh yeah, no, I'm not religious. I'm spiritual, but I'm not religious.
I'm not religious.
So,
I don't love Jesus like that.
I don't know. And then I retook the test at some point, answered the questions, I guess, a little better. And then I had matched with somebody, but I hadn't used my real name. And then it got to a point where I had to sort of do the thing. And it didn't go well. He wanted to get on the phone. He thought his friends were pranking him. I mean, it was just bad. It was bad enough that I felt so mortified and terrified.
You were like, this is it. I can't do this.
So it's just setups for me. And on occasion I meet somebody organically.
I never, ever really met people organically, except when I lived in New York.
Yeah.
Do you find dating easier? Because you lived in New York and you lived in London and LA.
Here, right. I think dating in New York is easier than dating in LA.
I think so too.
I think LA is really hard. Although I've had had relationships with men who are from LA who are wonderful. I've gone on some, probably like weirdly best date, I would say, was in LA. So, yeah, but New York, how about you? What do you?
I think New York, hands down, is so much better because, I don't know, you're like waiting for a show to start or like whatever. And you're like, I'll just pop in this bar for a second. And there's always somebody at a bar in New York who's like, hey, I have something to say. Would you like to listen? And I'm like, well, okay. Yeah, I love New York. I feel like LA people are like, I don't have anything to say because I'm going to go on a hike in the morning.
Right, exactly. Or they're looking over your shoulder to see
if somebody better is over there for them to talk to. Do you have like a first crush? I had so many crushes in high school.
Yes. Well, okay, here's what's funny is I had my first crush was in nursery school. Oh. And we reconnected on Instagram.
Recently?
Yeah, in the last year. I randomly awakened one morning thinking, I was like, I wonder what happened to so-and-so. And so I was like, oh, I wonder if he's on Instagram. And he was. And so we've been, friendly, which is so nice. So, but I think I started early. Nursery school, first grade. I mean,
that's when I started. I was like, oh my goodness, boys are cute. I want to talk to them. Oh, I still love men. I wish I didn't. Some of them are bad. But whenever I see a cute man, I'm like, oh my God. Like I fell in love at the airport. It was like a couple weeks ago. He was wearing sunglasses. I have no idea what this man looks like.
Yeah, 100%. Also, the sunglass thing, right? Everybody looks 10 points hotter with sunglasses.
And he was so hot. I think short. I had bad depth perception. I don't know. We could have been the same height, but we were getting in the elevator. Have I told this story, Mars? Okay. So. We were getting on the elevator and because the escalator was broken, we get in and then there was a family. It was a mom, a dad, and a baby in a stroller. And he was like, oh, we'll just wait for the next one. And then the doors closed and then they immediately opened. And he went, oh, I'm sorry, because he like hit the button too soon. Right. And we were both, I guess, tired from our flights. And then the doors closed and I was like, if he presses that button again, and then this hot man goes, I'm going to kill his baby. Yeah. And I said, and I'll hold that baby down. And then we laughed so hard.
Wait, this is a lost connection, right? Isn't that what it's?
It's a misconnection.
Misconnection.
You, sunglasses, threatening to kill a baby.
Exactly.
Me, your accomplice. But I have a boyfriend, so nothing happened.
All right. Do you get recognized, like, at the airport, like a situation like that? Do you feel like someone's going, oh, I listen to your podcast?
No. Sometimes. I shouldn't just say a blanket no. Sometimes people do recognize me. Usually it's my voice. But it's never weird or anything. It's usually just someone being like, oh, I really like your podcast. The weirdest interaction I had was, I know I talked about this, but I was doing shows and I don't really talk about my relationship in my act because I'm happy.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to write a joke about happiness. It's not
it's not funny.
No, it really isn't.
Right.
I smoke. And and this person was like, you got to stay true to who you are. You'll find somebody one day. And I was like, I'm just going to let them have this moment because I don't want to be like, I did find someone. I just don't talk about it yet. So, sometimes, I mean, yes, I got recognized because it was my show. Right. But yeah, sometimes at like a restaurant or something. Do you get recognized often?
Yeah. Yeah. Not as much as I used to, thank goodness. So it's, and what's been really surprising and really lovely for me is I've had people stopping me about the podcast now, which I feel I get really surprised every time I realize it's not just someone in my family listening. Like, oh, there are real people or my friends, So it's funny. I don't know if you felt this. I now feel a pressure before I'm going to see one of my friends to say, I don't expect you to have listened, like, the whole, because I feel like they'll come and they'll go, oh, I really like blah, blah, blah. And have you?
No.
Okay.
All my friends are like, they're comedians or actors. So like, it's hard to consume everybody's stuff. Right. So I don't expect I'm always surprised when a friend's like, oh, I listened to the podcast. I'm like, you did?
Right. Well, that's sort of how I feel. But I feel that there's somehow, maybe just because it's new, that they're feeling a pressure. That they, that I'd be offended or something.
I'm always like, I don't care.
Maybe I'm more anal than you are, that people think that I would be fussy if they didn't listen, my friends. I don't know.
I almost don't want my friends to listen because I feel like it like creates a parasocial relationship where it's like, oh, just call me. Just like call me, we'll hang out, we'll do something. Like my sister was listening for a while and I was like, you have got to stop listening because we'll just like be in the car and she'll just say something from the podcast. And I'm like, wait, were we talking about, are you talking about the podcast? And she's like, oh yeah. And I'm like, no, girl. Don't do that. Just call me and I'll tell you everything I say on the podcast. But it just feels a little uneven to me because it's like I can't respond to the things that you're thinking or saying back to me. Right. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. I had not quite with the podcast, but I had a really funny thing happen. It was probably maybe a year or two after I did my TED Talk. And I was living in New York. My mom lives here. And I called her and she's so funny. She's like a kindergarten teacher. Whenever my brother or I call, it's like, hi, literally I might have spoken to her 20 minutes. Hi, but I was like, there was all this chatter in the background and all of a sudden I recognized my own voice.
Oh, that's so funny.
I said, are you listening to my TED Talk? She was like, well, I missed you. So I was like, that's pretty cute, but also weird, so.
What was it like prepping for a TED Talk?
Oh my God, it was so terrifying. I worked harder on that talk than my master's thesis.
That's really wild. That's truly so funny.
Of course, got opinions and help from other people. I think that was an interesting experience for me too, of having to manage my ego and my trauma of people having thought I was dumb for such a long time. So this feeling of I have to do everything myself, and then the sort of like a higher version, the more present version of myself, being able to step back and talk to myself, as one does, right?
I talk to myself all the time.
And sort of say, like, okay, no, this is actually about what's the best talk to put out there. Okay, my cousin went to Wharton, so I'm going to ask him to look at this section, and can he make suggestions? And I'm going to ask this person to look at that section, and this person, said this, that, and the other. And so it was hard for me to do that. And then I practiced, and then you have one dress rehearsal, and I had been really clear. Want to do the talk, cannot memorize it. I can't handle that level of stress. So they said, okay, just, do the best you can, but you can have a confidence monitor. So
is that like a teleprompter?
Yes, but no, right? So it's sort of, if there's a screen in the back, like that TV, well, if it were farther away and you had your script there, so it's sort of, you're not reading it like a teleprompter right in front of you, right? So it was supposed to be just a little bit of a crutch, but the font wasn't big enough. And so I was kind of straining. And so Chris Anderson, who owns and runs TED, was like, listen, we're going to have to get you a podium, and you're just going to have your talk there, because you're not connecting with the audience, you're not present. Because I was like, but it's the font, the whole thing. So then I did a whole number on myself about what a loser I was, and how everybody was going to laugh at me and the whole thing. And ultimately, I had this travel music stand with me to practice in my hotel room. And I ended up using the travel music stand because the podium was really big and hulking. And I thought, this sends a message of hiding, and the one thing I am not doing with this TED Talk is hiding anymore. And so so I used the music stand, and now they have a music stand that they use instead of like a big podium.
I love that.
Yeah.
You incited a change.
Yes. So
that's wild that you couldn't have a teleprompter. Even Beyonce has a teleprompter with her lyrics on it, just in case she gets lost.
Well, hopefully, we know she remembers the lyric and partition, but, I could help with that one. So,
wait, speaking about that, I think you are mentioned in 193 rap songs.
Oh, it's up to 193
now.
It's
up to 193.
Yeah. Well, it's like the first time we counted, it was in the 40s, and then it was over 125. So I'll have to update my. It's
wild.
Bonkers. I mean, how amazing though if I got residuals. That would be cool.
It would be so incredible if you got like any sort of compensation from people mentioning your name. You would never have to work again.
Or if late night hosts had to, do something every time people laugh, they tell a joke.
Listen, that shit was so wild. Yeah. Did you ever hear Jay Leno say your name and then be like, well, fuck this, I should just go to sleep?
No, because I knew enough to not even watch.
That is very, very smart.
I think I knew enough, but there were times that I would come across, they would post David Letterman's top 10 list after, sort of the next day. And so there were times I came across that, or in cartoons, all sorts of things. But Jay Leno was the worst. He was the worst of the late night hosts.
He's getting his. He got beat up by a hill recently. Did you see that? It was my favorite news story. I was like, what do you mean you fell down a hill and that's what you look like? Sir, that was more than a hill. Anyway, I feel like the 90s everyone was very complicit and okay with terrorizing young women. Because it wasn't just you. It was like Lindsay Lohan. Well, I guess that's like the 2000s. It bled into the 2000s. It was just like, how can we make women feel less than and feel like shit? And it's so wild that a bunch of writers in that writer's room was like, yeah, say that about that woman.
Yeah.
Say it. Say it multiple times, too.
Well, I think what's interesting, too, that I've been thinking about a lot, whether it's comedians or news anchors, is sort of the what women's experience was in the workplace, right? Of sort of having to be complicit in telling news stories a certain way or writing jokes a certain way, because that's what they had to do at that time in order to sort of, I think women were still moving their way into we're like finding our way into different industries and higher levels of jobs, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's just improv, but I remember starting improv where it was teams of 8 and there would always be no more than 2 women per team. And in my brain, I was like, well, that makes sense because like women aren't that funny. And then I was like, wait, some of these women are some of the funniest people at this theater. And then I just started thinking, I was like, oh, no, more women is better. And I stopped seeing women as competition and started being like, oh, there's just room at the table for all of us. You just have to like scoot over a little bit and create a seat for somebody else. And that was a hard thing to wrap my head around because I feel like we're just socialized.
Well, and our reptilian brain, right? Like, I mean, it's sort of, it all goes back to resources and then the resources and reproduction and how many grandchildren do you know, all this stuff. So just to bring Darwin into the conversation a little, Nicole,
I never think about Darwin enough. Real quick, we have to take a break. They say the way to someone's heart is through their stomach, and baby, I believe it. Cooking together is love, and Green Chef just makes it easier. This summer, if you're trying to eat better and trying to impress someone, whether it's your partner, your situationship, or just yourself, Green Chef has your back. They're the #1 meal kit for eating clean, and it shows. Green Chef makes it easy to build healthy habits that stick with real organic ingredients, responsibly sourced proteins, and meals that come together fast. Their new Heat and Eat meals done in 3 minutes. Their salads just 5. You can pick from over 80 options each week, like Mediterranean, plant-based, or even gut and brain health. Whatever diet you're on, there's a meal for that. I love it as a date night activity, too. It's fun, you learn how to cook, and if you love a meal, save the recipe and make it again. My favorite recent recipe from them, it's their roasted salmon with lemon butter sauce, with pesto couscous, with almonds and peas and Parmesan. Ooh, baby, it's a chef's kiss. Make your summer your healthiest yet with Green Chef. Head to greenchef.com/50dateme and use code 50dateme to get 50% off your first month, then 20% off for 2 months with free shipping. That's code 50dateme at greenchef.com/50dateme. Look, if your longest, healthiest relationship is with your cat, you're not alone. I have several close friends who are obsessed with their furry friend. So when I heard about Smalls cat food, I knew I had to get it for them. One friend even told me their cat used to be the pickiest little diva alive. She'd sniff her food and walk away like it was beneath her. But now she hears the Smalls bag and comes sprinting like it's a 5-star meal. And the breath, so much better. The poop smells way less offensive. We all thank you, Smalls. Smalls cat food is made with protein-packed recipes using ingredients you'd actually recognize from your own fridge. None of that mystery filler stuff, and it's delivered right to your door. That's why Cats.com named Smalls their best overall cat food. The company started with 2 guys home cooking meals for their friends' cats in 2017, and now they've served millions of meals across the U.S. Plus, they work with Humane World of Animals and have donated over $1 million worth of food to cats in need. Give your cat the food they deserve for a limited time only. Why won't you Date Me listeners get 60% off their first order plus free shipping when you head to smalls.com/dateme. That's smalls.com/dateme. Beep bop, boop bop, we're back. Okay, you hosted a show for 1 season called Mr. Personality.
Oh my gosh, yep.
It was in my notes, and I was like, wait, I don't remember this show. And then I looked
There's
it
a
up,
reason why.
and I was like, those masks are scary.
Okay, the premise of the show was really great.
Yes.
It was really about trying to, try. Now, I was not the contestant. Let's just be
you were the
clear,
host.
right? I was the host. And it was, the premise was, don't judge a book by its cover, right? The execution needed some work. And, I said yes. It was like a year's salary with 3 weeks of work. And
that's great.
Mama's got to support herself. So at least try. But
the masks. Did you see the mask and be like, hey, I have some notes? Or are you like, hey, listen, it's fine?
I had notes, but I kept them to myself. I was not a producer on the show. So it was... yeah. But what's so funny is I got to keep the clothes from that shoot.
Ooh.
And I just had one of the outfits altered. Like I've had it for 20 years. So
I love that.
Yeah.
I have things from like H&M from 20 years ago. And I'm like, they didn't mean for this to last like this.
No, but it was probably better made back I think
then.
everything was.
Yes. Everything now is just garbage. And I hate it. Because I love buying furniture. And sometimes you'll buy furniture and you're like, this is just plywood.
Right.
And I have to put it together. Right. I'm not Bob the Builder. Please send it fully made. So on that, did you find hosting hard? Was that like a hard transition to make?
Yes. Yeah. I think it was hard on many levels. One, I think just life for me at that point was hard. And trying to find different ways to move forward and to figure out who I was I was still in my 20s. So trying to figure out who was I post-scandal, who was I, all those things. And yeah, it was, it's sort of one of those things where it was an experience,
Well, I'll just say, hosting for me, because I hosted this show on Netflix called Nailed It for a little bit. Hosting for me was so interesting and like a little hard because I was like, oh, the onus is on me to keep the show rolling. When there's dead air, I just have to start talking and do something. Also, do you remember your first date?
My first date solo, I don't know, because it was like group dates, right?
Yes.
So I remember the group dates. And I think that was in Westwood, seeing a movie in a group. And we went to the patio that no longer exists. You're too young probably to know.
Yeah, I simply don't know. I'm so young.
And I remember he bought me a bracelet. So, but that guy actually turned out to then be my first French kiss too. So.
Oh. I didn't date until, I didn't go on any real dates till my mid-20s. It was a lot of just hanging out and not knowing if this person liked me or not. And then getting kissed and being like, so it was a date. Okay, I see. I
still sometimes have those.
Do you ever get confused when a man hits on you and you're like, are you nice or are you hitting on me?
Well, or the other is when you're recognizable, it can be very hard to tell the difference between someone being interested and what behavior looks like when someone's meeting a recognizable person. So that can be confusing. But I know I had an experience, I don't know, a couple months ago where someone had, asked a mutual friend to introduce us. He asked me to dinner. I thought I was like, okay, I think this is a date. And then, paid for dinner and my parking and the whole thing. And then I didn't hear from him. So the next day I was like, oh, thank you. I was like, I had a great time. He's like, I had a great time too. And then never heard anything. So he's like, okay, was that a date and he's not interested? But is this not a date? I don't know. I'm really bad at all these things. So.
But he was bad. That's weird.
I don't know. He's a really lovely person. So
I just feel like if you go out with someone and you do chivalrous things like pay for dinner and parking and stuff, I think you could at least go, hey, well, I'm feeling it. Or had a nice time. I don't think this is going to continue. That's what I do. I don't like ghosting people. Yeah. I feel like it's really, really mean. But I've been ghosted so many times.
Really?
Oh, my God. So many times. I went out with this Australian man who was so handsome. And we went on 2 dates. And I had texted him. I was like, hey, are you here or are you in Australia? And he said, here. And I said, do you want to go out again? And then I never heard from him again.
Wow. Interesting that he would even respond to the I think he was hit by a bus. I think that's what happened. That's
one can only hope. That would be lovely if I just not lovely, but validating if I was just perusing the internet and I'm like, oh, that Australian man was hit by a bus. That's why he didn't reach out.
But also it makes a little bit no sense, right? If he's going to ghost you, why tell you he's here?
Yes. Just don't ever respond to me again. But hey, maybe he was like, I need her to know that I'm here and ignoring her.
Right.
Which is hateful.
We do not like you, Australian man.
No. Have you ever been to Australia?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, several times.
It's not my favorite.
No?
No, it's too far for what you're getting.
I love it there. My only difficulty is there's something, I don't know what it is. There's something for me about being upside down. I like the first several days there, I just want to die. Like literally just want to die. And I mean, I really have to watch for suicidal ideation, kind of a thing that strong.
Do they have a different altitude there?
I have no idea. I don't know what it is, but I was like in a hotel room staring at a wall for 3 hours.
That happens to me in Denver.
Oh, okay.
When I get altitude sickness, it manifests in, should I walk into traffic? Mm-hmm. Or should I sleep for the rest of my life and never live again? It's tough.
Yeah, it's a weird, but it's so beautiful there.
It is pretty.
And I think they have such a great kind of work-life balance there too. I went on a budget tour of Europe when I was 19. You know, it was like
a budget tour.
Yeah, but it was because you're on a bus and it's
a bus.
Yeah, you're on a bus. You're staying in like not the greatest places.
Like hostels? I've never stayed in a hostel.
I have not stayed in a hostel. So it was not that budget. But it was not bougie.
A slightly elevated budget.
It was not bougie. But and there were a bunch of Australians on that. And that was sort of maybe my first exposure. And a lot of them had work jobs. Then they took a severance package and then traveled the world.
Oh.
And then they go back and get a new job and start working again. And when you compare that or contrast it, right, to the American way of life, it's sort of that work until you retire. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to live your best life.
Which is unhinged. At 65 years old, that's when I have to live my best life?
Yeah.
No, thank you. But also, I can't quit a job. This is the 400th episode. I can't.
Right.
I will do it till the wheels come off. But I also do take time for myself. I do like to take a vacation here or there, or just like go away for the weekend. I love doing that.
Yeah. I like a staycation even. So
I do like a staycation
at the beach. That's
so nice. Except the beaches here are so cold. The water's so cold.
Yeah, I don't go in the water.
Me either.
I like to be by the water.
I like to be in the water, one with the ocean.
I like to be by the ocean.
My best friend is like that. She likes to be by the water, but not in the water.
Exactly.
But that's not me. I could spend all day in the water. I'm a real water baby.
Are you an Aquarius?
No, a Virgo.
Oh, okay.
What are you?
I'm Leo, but I'm right on the cusp of Cancer and Leo. And I am very much a combination.
Yeah. I don't know anything about the signs.
Okay. Virgo is very organized, usually. No? Okay.
No, she's got the ADHD, so I'm a particular person.
Okay,
my mess is particular just around the house.
Mm-hmm. I say I'm messy, not dirty.
Yes.
So, yeah. And there's a really big difference between that.
There really is. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I go to people's homes and I'm like, sometimes I'll clean. Like if I'm in the bathroom and I see some like dirt on the baseboard, I'll just clean the baseboard for them.
Wow. Do you want to come over?
Sure. I'll clean your baseboards and I won't even tell you. It'll just happen.
Yeah.
But do you like to entertain? Do you entertain a lot?
Okay. I love to entertain and I don't entertain at all. So, in fact, I was just having this discussion with someone the other day of I work from home and I work in my dining room, but my dining room is set up as a dining room. And I was kind of going back and forth of maybe I really just need to make this more a functional office that can be a dining room if I really need it to be. Because I've now lived in the place I'm in for 2 years. And aside from children, my niece and nephew or, family, I have not entertained once, or maybe I have, but we sat on the sofa.
Yes.
So eating on the sofa. So so there's that. But when I lived in New York the first time, I used to have these, the game Taboo.
Yes, I've never played that.
Oh, it's really fun. So I used to have taboo parties.
Ooh.
And so it was really fun, especially when the edition came out and I turned out to be an answer. That was a fun, like, okay, all right, how are we going to do this one? So
does that put a damper on the mood when you appear in something that you're not anticipating?
Well, it was let's say this. It wasn't offensive, so it was funny.
Okay.
But I have had plenty of experiences where I'm either sitting in a movie, like sitting in a theater watching a movie, and there's a reference, and that's weird, or reading a book. That's all. Somehow the book is the weirdest to me of all. I don't know why.
I think I know why. I think it's because when you're reading a book, you're imagining things.
Yeah.
And then when you see your own legal name in it, it takes you out of the imagination of things because you're like, well, now it's very real. I'm in here? Why?
Yeah, it just is such a weird, it's just, I don't know, it feels like you're kind of crossing a whole other Rubicon of, to have that happen. So that's...
Especially if it happens in like a fantasy novel. You're reading like Harry Potter and they're like, Shazam, Monica Lewinsky. And you're like, wait, what?
That I would totally welcome. Are you kidding? That would make me really cool. But no, it's sort of, well, it was interesting. Did you read that book? It was out a few years ago, Three Women. Lisa Toledo, I think, or Toledo. I don't know how you say her last name. And I had so many people telling me to read it. And I started reading it. And then there was not the worst reference to me, but it was not I didn't experience it as a complimentary reference.
Did you go back to your friends and be like, hey,
no,
what the fuck?
I did to somebody. I remember because then someone asked me and I was like, no, I started to read it and they hadn't remembered that, which I totally get that they would, because it wasn't something that threaded throughout the book either, but yeah. So it's such a strange existence. So strange. But it's taken me to places, good and bad, that I never could have imagined. I couldn't have imagined having my own, podcast and getting to sit and talk with people. And I couldn't have imagined that my worst moments and experiences could be shared in ways that would help other people feel less alone, So that's...
And it is a specific experience, but I feel like everybody has that one moment in their life that they're like, well, this is the worst thing in the world and I fucking hate it. And maybe I just don't live anymore. Or whatever.
Yes.
So I do think your experience is incredibly relatable to people, just not the specificity of it.
Right.
And I do appreciate you talking about it. And I love that your podcast is called Reclaiming, because you basically had to reclaim your whole life. It's wild.
Yeah, I did. And I think what's really, the idea first started for me, I actually thought about it as writing a book myself. And so I kept taking notes in the notes app, as we all do, list of inventions,
so many
ideas,
notes
right?
that I haven't touched in years.
Yeah, I think I look at the notes more than I look at the things I saved on Instagram, because that's a whole other...
I never look at it. I'm like, ooh, fun recipe, save. I'm never cooking it.
Yeah, no. But so I was had these notes, and then I started working with managers and they were like, this is much better as a podcast idea. And it started to really appeal to me, this idea of talking to other people, about their other experiences. And the more and more I thought about reclaiming, and as I was working on the pitch for the podcast, I just kept seeing how elastic it was, and actually seeing how it was this thing that threads through our life in the same way mindfulness. I think we're moving towards that, of understanding all the different ways that we lose something and we either replace it with something else or we get it back in a different way. I mean, just today, reading, my reclaiming icon of Taylor Swift and Taylor's versions, so that and now today she bought her full catalog back.
So, you'll love to see that.
So
I wonder how much that was.
Yeah.
That was a pretty pricey purchase.
She probably didn't pay in cash. Probably not.
Probably not, but maybe she did.
Right. But imagine if she put it on her Amex and got all the points. Right?
Oh, that would be incredible.
That would be a baller move.
God. Then you would definitely be Delta 360.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with status on airlines.
Okay.
I'm a Delta Diamond Diva. What's your preferred airline?
It changes.
Oh.
So when I was living in New York before the pandemic, I lived downtown. And so Newark was my airport of choice. And therefore, airline at that time was United.
Oh.
Now
Why don't you do JFK?
JFK. Well, so if you're on the west side downtown, you can get to, at the right time of day, you can get to Newark in 20 minutes.
Oh.
So that's, if I flew in on a red eye, I would be home in 20 minutes. So that's fair. If you're on the east side of the city, or uptown, it's a little different. And JFK or LaGuardia makes more sense. So
I'm a JFK gal.
But I am a JFK gal now. So
I'm also an LAX gal. I do not like Burbank.
Oh,
I don't like regional airports. I know I've said this, but people just being in an airport without people with passports and dreams, and you're just going to Idaho. I don't want to be with you people. I want to be with someone going to Paris. Okay,
I've just learned a lot about you in the last 60 seconds. So
I have unhinged thoughts. I was on the phone with my partner last night, and I said something, and I was like, you don't have an opinion about it? And he was like, I'm pretty neutral about a lot of things, Nicole. And I was like, you don't have a hard opinion about everything? I have a hard opinion about every single thing in the world. Balloons, love them.
I love balloons.
Pillows, ooh, can't get enough. Do you think you're neutral about a lot of things, or do you have strong opinions?
I think I am really good at having strong opinions about things I actually know nothing about. So I will find myself at a dinner party and I'll realize, wow, you are spouting out an opinion from having read a headline. So
I'm like that with things that I've seen and how I remember it. I'm like, no, that's right. I know I'm right. I got into an argument with my partner because the doorway to his sister's living room, I was like, there's no door there. And he was like, yes, there is. And I was like, no, there's not. And he's like, I've been there so many more times than you. And I was like, and you're wrong. Turns out I was very wrong.
Couldn't see that one coming.
No, but also, I still stand by. I don't think there's a door there. Even though now I know and I've seen a picture of it, I'm like, it doesn't exist.
Maybe in a previous lifetime, you were in the house in its different incarnation and there was no door.
Maybe. And then I got bad karma for being wrong now in this life.
Yeah.
Wait, will you tell me about the worst date you've been on?
Sure. There is, I'd say that there's probably a tie among several. One where about 20 minutes in, it was a setup with a lawyer. And 20 minutes in, and this was a few years after 98, and he told me he didn't think Ken Starr was a really bad guy, such a bad guy. And so that was kind of I left after appetizers. How
did you leave? Were you like, I gotta go?
Yeah.
I love it.
And we were in a nice restaurant too. So it was just.
You're better than me. I would have stayed for dinner.
No, well.
I love a free dinner.
But I don't. Then another time that I left in the middle of a date was we had gone to a Yankees game and we're sitting on the front row on the third baseline, which also means you might get caught by cameras, right?
Okay.
And halfway through, he told me that he was married for a green card. And I was like, okay, I am not going to sit on third base, front row on a date with a guy who's married. This is just not a good plan for me.
Yes.
Not a good PR plan.
No, I get that.
So there was that. And then I'd probably say I was on a date where it was so bad I didn't want to have dessert. And then the guy was like, no, come on, order dessert. He's like, I like women who are bigger than I am. Go ahead and eat the dessert. And I just, that was...
Go ahead, keep eating.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I once had a man say to me, he was like, just because I'm into fitness doesn't mean I don't like your body type. And this is as I was leaving his apartment, and then the door closed, and I remember staring at the door being like, what?
Yeah.
What? And then walked to my car, got in the car and was like, what?
Yeah.
Got home, I was like, what? Look. It was so strange.
What was your worst date?
My worst date, I mean, it could have been that one. I think my absolute worst date was, I've talked about this, but it was a man who had long fingernails, he was in Interview with the Vampire, long ovals. And he was buying me drinks. We were at Good Luck Bar, which doesn't exist anymore. And maybe an hour and a half in, I was like, oh, I don't really like him. But he was like, all right, do you want to go back to my place? And I was like, oh, no, I have to be up really early in the morning. He was like, but I bought all your drinks. And I was like, oh.
Wow.
And like kind of got aggressive in a way. And then he's like, let me walk you to your car. And I was like, no, thank you. I don't want that. And then I went on a date with the man. This was at Club, well, I don't have to say the name of places. What am I doing? But I went on a date with the man. It was going so poorly. We just didn't vibe.
Mm-hmm.
It was, and I don't know. I think I could talk to anyone, really.
Yes.
You know, you just find something to connect on, but we just really couldn't connect. He was giving me one-word answers. And then I was like, I think I'm going to, and then I ran into a friend and she was like, oh, you're on a date. And I was trying to make eyes at her to be like, save me. Tell me somebody's dead and you need me to come with you. But, and then later I told her that. She was like, you were looking at me funny. But anyway, as I was leaving, he walked me to my car and he was like, hey, my apartment's right over there. And I was like, that's nice. Yeah. You'll get home real quick. And he was like, oh, okay. And I was like, yeah, okay. And then I got home and I was like, ugh. And then he did text and was like, hey, do you want to go out again? And I was like, oh, I didn't feel a spark. And then he went, good luck. And the good luck didn't feel sincere.
No.
And it felt kind of like he was mad.
Yeah. I'm not great at dating, and I find myself constantly needing to get like scripts from friends. How do I do this? What do I say? You know, my therapist gave me a really good one, which was, I think that I can only offer you friendship.
Oh,
right? That's good.
That is good. But then sometimes they try to be your friend. And you're like, I didn't want that. I was trying to be nice and congenial and demure.
Right. Or let me think if I know somebody who's a good match for you. That's good,
that's
right?
that's kind.
But that's right. But there's also that element too, right? If you if you push all the, you know, fear of abandonment stuff aside, you just go, okay, there was like either someone thought we might have some sort of a connection, right? So there's something there, or you have these nice qualities. There's a reason I said yes to go out with you, and it's just not a match, but I might know someone, you know, but.
I've never thought of that. That's so nice.
Well, you know.
I'm just trying to think of my single friends that like, I would like hook up with somebody. No, none of them are good. No, I'm kidding. So you said that you're bad at dating. I feel like I was also very bad at dating because I'm not very good at I guess putting my best foot forward. I read somewhere that it's like people are on their best behavior for like the first couple months and then like the real them comes out. The real me just comes out. I'm just a strange little gal and I'll talk about anything. Like I think it was my second date with my partner. I just droned on and on about cars. And then he was like, I really like that you know a lot about cars. And I was like, oh, okay. So you want to hear more thoughts about cars? She's like, sure, whatever.
But I think it's great that you're authentic. I think I have to say that having turned 50, there was just a level of acceptance that happened in my life on many levels. And one of the things that totally went away was the whole, I'm going to try to figure out what you're looking for and be that and pretend I know that music or that artist or, you know, so that is very freeing, you know.
Because I think there's nothing more interesting than being like, oh, I don't know what that is. Can you tell me about it? Because then that person gets to tell you about the thing that they're interested in.
Yeah, that's a great point. But it's funny because I think the dating I've done in the last few months has also made me realize that this year I'm actually dating my podcast. So this is sort of like you want to be on the side a bit more or whatever. But
no,
it's just,
it that.
Does, I mean, standing a show up it's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. It's like having another job. You're like, oh, I got to like go on a date. I got to respond to this person. I got to be interested in them. I think there's just a level of where a lot of my energy and a lot of my focus is. And I'm also EPing a show. So that's been a whole other... You're just busy. You're a busy, booked diva. Have you ever been on a date where you felt like it was an interview? Where you're like, I don't think you're here to date me. I think you just want to know things about me.
I don't think so.
That's nice.
I don't think so. Yeah. But I mean, I have said on dates before, because this is my policy, not just dates, but anybody of a version of, I hate the idea of someone sitting, having a conversation with me, wondering about something, wanting to ask a question, but they don't ask it. And so my policy, not when I'm doing podcasts, but my policy
in real life.
When
it's not a taped conversation.
Is, you can ask me anything. I may just choose not to answer.
Oh,
so,
I like that.
And that's, and I think I've only one time not been like, that I'm not answering that question.
I've been on dates with like other comedians where they're just like, well, how did you do this? How did you do that? And I'm like, oh no, I don't want this.
Right.
I want to get slammed through a mattress. Anyway, Monica, do you have any advice for single people?
Don't take dating advice from me.
Fair. I get that. I also don't really have dating advice because my therapist was like, you should start going to dates or think about going to dates where you have no expectations. So if there are no expectations, you either have a nice time or a bad time, but you didn't have any expectations. And that's the only advice I have.
You know what? Whenever someone says a version of that, no offense to your therapist, but or they'll say, well, you'll meet someone when you least expect it. Okay, show me how to not have expectations. Once they come in, they're there, right? They're kind of not gonna go anywhere. So you could pretend like, okay, I'm not waiting for the phone to ring in the old days before we had cell phones. You're like,
no, you're right.
Sit by the phone.
And I've told my partner, I'm like, you took too long to ask me out on a second date. And he was like, it was 3 days. And I was like, too long. But can't go back in the past. And now it's fine.
How long have you two been together?
A little over a year.
Oh, what'd you do for if it's not too personal?
It's not.
What'd you do for your first 1 year?
Vegas.
Oh.
And gambled, and I won $3,000.
Wow.
And have you ever won money in Vegas where they give you a hand pay?
No.
So that means they take taxes out, and then a lady comes from the back, and then you have to hold your hand out, and then they count it. So I guess you can't dispute it later. And it's like, no, we have the footage of you getting paid.
Wow. Okay.
It was all the way in the corner, so nobody saw and nobody was cheering, and I was really upset about that.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
I like when people cheer and clap for me. Oh my God, thank you. I just really like being special. I went to a restaurant the other day and I was like, it's not my birthday, but can I have a candle in this dessert? And they said, sure.
Well, my friends and I, when we were younger in high school, we would, particularly Bob's Big Boy, would give you a free dessert on your birthday. So we would always pretend it was someone's birthday, so to get free dessert.
See, I love that. I used to do that at Chili's all the time in high school. It's
great if you're ever dating someone who has kids. It's a great first meal with the kids in a restaurant is to sort of sidebar them or do it and for the dad and then everybody's laughing.
She's cool.
Yeah, exactly.
That's smart. I love that.
It's a good icebreaker.
If I'm ever single again, I'm gonna borrow it. Well, Monica, we've come to the end. Do you have anything you want to promote?
My podcast.
Yeah.
Please listen to Reclaiming with Monica Lewinsky.
And when do new episodes come out?
Every Tuesday.
Love it. Ooh, would you date me? That's the question I always forget.
If I dated women, of course.
Ooh, that's the response I like. Because if you had said no, I would have cried. If you like this episode of Why Won't You Date Me, you can like it, you can rate it, you can subscribe, you can give me 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. And if you write me something nasty hitting on me, I will read it. This person writes, a day one listener here. I know you usually ask for something filthy, but I'm built more for soft intimacy. Since you've given me so many years of joy, I tracked down the chef at Little Dom's, bribe him with a mysterious envelope and a firm handshake, and secure that legendary lasagna recipe for you. That's nice. I love lasagna. I once ate lasagna every Friday for a year. Call me Garfield.
Yeah.
Then I'd build you a lasagna, 1 layer for every episode you've made. That's a big lasagna.
400.
That's nearly 400 sheets of love and cheese. It would be so tall, we'd need scaffolding. That's funny. I'd hoist you onto my shoulders so you could eat your way down like a victorious pasta goddess descending a tower of her own greatness. When you're full and slightly cross-eyed from carbs, I'd run a bubble bath with extensive oils and soft Beyonce and hand you a freshly charged iPad so you can scroll Zillow listings of all of your friends' homes so you can softly judge them. Honestly, that's nice. Thank you. Bye-bye.
That was a HeadGum podcast.
It's episode 400. Can you believe that I've made it all the way to 400 episodes? Each episode's like an hour long. That's 400 hours, over 400 hours of talking, because some of them go long. I started November 30th, 2017. That was a whole world that was different back then. But honestly, thank you for going on this journey with me. Thank you for listening. Thank you for coming to my shows and telling me that you listen and like telling me stories that I simply don't remember that I've told on the podcast. That's been fun. One of my favorite moments on the podcast has truly happened within the last year. It was Lou Wilson's episode where I didn't remember we went on a date, but now I remember all the details. I've also loved having my friends on. I've done multiple episodes with Sashir. The live episode in Arizona was a really fun one where I offered to buy vibrators for women and 200 people emailed me, and then I had to recruit my friend to help me fulfill those orders. And then a lovely person on Twitter was like, I know someone who works for the company, and they helped me fulfill the orders, which was like wild and insane. Truly, it has been really magical, and I've bounced between networks, and you followed me, and that's really been wonderful. For the future of the show, I hope to continue doing it. I hope that I get to continue talking about love and relationships, because it is a comedy podcast, but I do fucking love love, and I love relationships, and I love hearing about people's struggles, and I love hearing about people's triumphs. I think it's just really special. Love is something that is, in all of our lives, whether you have it or not, like you're looking for it or you have it. And I think that's special. If you want to tell me what your favorite moments of the podcast are, let me know in the dang comments. And then I won't look, but Mars, my producer, who's wonderful, who's been with me this whole time, who is so wonderful, and she works so hard and she's so dedicated. She'll read them and she'll let me know, and it'll be nice to hear. Also, my assistant, Lindsay, has been incredibly helpful, so I just want to thank her. I want to thank HeadGum. I also do want to thank Team Coco, the network I was on prior. It was HeadGum, Team Coco, back to HeadGum. They were really great. HeadGum is really great, and I'm really thankful that you guys listen. Okay, goodbye for now. I'll see you next week. Why won't you